The two ordinary hosts of this podcast are not professionals on parapsychology, extraterrestrials, cryptozoology, nor would they describe themselves as religious or prone to superstition. They'd also like to make it known that this show is not intended for children or those with sensitive sensibilities. Please listen at your own discretion. And remember, the truth is often anecdotal.
It's late at night. You're walking home from working a double shift. Physically and mentally exhausted, you drag your feet beneath you. Only one more block to go, you think to yourself, excited to crash into bed. But that's when you see them. Multiple people standing just within your peripheral vision. However, each time you glance in their direction, they vanish, camouflaging against the dark shadows of the urban landscape. You begin to walk a bit faster, still attempting to spot these ever-watchful beings. One after another, just shadows, then another, a trash can, then another, until one doesn't vanish at all. You're frozen in place, heart racing, positive that whoever this person is, they absolutely do mean you harm. You're only half a block away from home, but if you try to run, could they catch you? Unfortunately, before you have a chance to make a move, the silhouette crouches down on all four limbs and quickly skitters backward into a dark alley nearby. You sprint home, slam your front door shut, and rush to your computer. You ask in a public forum about what you could have just experienced, but most responses are vague and varying. However, they all seem to share one single word in common. Humanoid, the very subject of this episode. Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. R.
And I'm Mr. X.
Just paranormal dudes.
Reading paranormal stories.
Yes. Mr. X, I have a question. Without giving away too much, would you ever describe yourself as humanoid?
Oh, man. Probably not.
I didn't think so.
More of a Mark Zuckerberg type.
Sorry, I actually really like Zark Muckerberg way better.
Yeah.
Do you think that's his real name? And when he got to Earth, he was like, a spoonerism would work, honestly.
Yeah.
Zark Muckerberg is so funny. Can that be the name of the episode?
Sure.
Have we named our episodes at all?
Oh shoot! As I'm preparing to upload them, I'm trying to figure out more clever names than just episode 1 and 2. So.
Well, unfortunately, we hit this one right out the gate, so we're not going to leave any room for questioning. So this week we are talking about humanoid encounters, humanoid stories. Humanoid is pretty vague. I had actually kind of a hard time finding stories for this.
So yeah, I think that's a little purposeful because humanoid just means it's like a shape, right? And as I'm reading a lot of these stories, you can kind of associate what people are saying with like other things. Like I have a theory for the first story I have set up here. But yeah, I mean, humanoid could literally be anything. It just kind of looks human. Like when I think of humanoid, I think of like skinwalkers. But yeah, that's essentially what I think of is like, for me, it's creatures that shapeshift but tend to pick human forms because that's what we're most comfortable with. And honestly, like reading through a lot of these stories were much longer than the other ones that we were looking at, but also much creepier. Like there's just something very unsettling about something that's human looking but very clearly not.
Something I wanted to jump into, obviously this could be a later episode. You're familiar with the what is that called? The Uncanny Valley.
Yeah, okay. like Zark Muckerberg.
Zark Muckerberg, exactly. Just something that is almost human, right? It is human enough, but not quite there. I was reading a really scary theory in that, like, we as humans get uncomfortable when something looks kind of human.
Yeah.
But like most fears were bred evolutionarily. That's probably not the right word. Through evolution, like snakes. Humans can detect snakes faster than any animal, right? But the same goes for like primates and monkeys. So like at what point in our history, in human history, did we develop a fear of something that kind of looked like a human?
Well, there's a very simple answer to that, and that's Neanderthals.
Apes. Other bipedal.
Although I did
humanoids.
I have heard somebody talk about that same theory And their explanation was even simpler, and that's just like dead bodies, like avoiding.
Oh,
Like you see a body, you're going to avoid whatever might have caused that person to cease living. So,
or just illness in general, right? Like,
yeah,
someone with like a very noticeable, very altering illness, you're gonna kind of shy away from that.
yeah, like leprosy and stuff.
Leprosy is a good one. Leprosy's was a good pick.
The Bible.
Yeah, sorry, that wasn't an example. That was just.
That's just where I referenced it from. Yeah.
So, dang, who started last week? Who did the first one?
Oh, I don't remember, but I can start off if you want.
Yeah. You go for it.
Cool. This first story I pulled off of the subreddit Humanoid Encounters. The title, a very long one, is "I'm currently being stalked by a something that looks and sounds exactly like me. Last Saturday, it tried to break in. I need help."
I'm gonna go ahead and say mimicry is one of the scariest things to me.
Yeah. So they've tagged this one as a doppelganger story. But let's just jump right into it. So
yeah.
Okay. This one is a doozy. Apologies if I get things wrong grammatically, as I'm extremely paranoid at the moment. I live in the UK, Devon, with my dog. It's important to note that there's a huge expanse of woods behind the house. Early last month, this thing that looks and sounds exactly like me begun to show itself directly to me. But I fear it's actually been around for much, much longer. About 4 years ago, my parents, grandmother, and cousins were over at mine for a get-together. I remember my mother going to smoke around the back. Not even a minute after going out, she comes back in all flustered and asked me why I was outside in the woods. She said I was just staring at her blankly. The thing is, I wasn't. I was inside with my grandmother and dad. My mom, bless her soul, passed it off as just seeing things. Stupidly, so did I. Cut to last year. I was in my lounge when my dog ran off into the conservatory, barking like mad. This wasn't really surprising, as we do have quite a few rabbits and other vermin around the area. That was till, I kid you not, I heard my fucking voice talking in the conservatory. I checked outside. Nothing. Nothing at all. Last month, while cleaning the kitchen, I saw me outside in the woods. It looked one-to-one with me. This fucker didn't move an inch. It was like a statue. I froze in place. I guess it was more the shock of seeing myself with my own two eyes physically. I leapt over the conservatory door. Gone. It was gone. In the split time it took me to go to the door, this fucker was gone. Last Saturday, I was upstairs on a work assignment when I heard my fucking voice asking to be let in. My dog was going nuts, and got worse when this thing was clawing and scratching at my windows and doors. I contacted the police, and I'm away at my parents' house for the time being. I don't know what to tell people or if they'll even believe me. I just want this to end. Any advice? Because I'm dreading when I see this thing again or what it'll do. So that's the story. There are 366 comments on this thing.
All
I did not
from
sift through.
the clone.
Yes. So I haven't dug through all the comments because one thing came to mind immediately, and I just wanted to discuss that before diving into anything that people might be saying in there. And it's mostly because of a movie I recently saw. I don't want to say the movie because I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but this sounds like
good call.
Like fae, right? Like fairies or a changeling. Like
sure.
Something trying to take their place, right? I guess doppelganger works too, but yeah, from all the stories I've heard in the past, the first thing that comes to mind is a changeling. I've never heard of them directly approaching the subject that they're trying to mimic and replace. So that's a little weird. It's also just a little weird that it's just constantly like just letting this person know, like, hey, I'm about to take your place.
So, I mean, there's a lot of folklore, especially European folklore, of fairies or goblins and gnomes and whatever. But there's a lot of stories of children being replaced, like babies.
Yeah.
Right? Like a baby being taken out into the woods and then a different baby being brought back. Now, oh man, so sorry, I'm reading some of these comments. One of the most important ones is it clothed?
Yeah.
Is it wearing your clothes, the same ones you were wearing when your mom saw it? I don't think the original poster ever answers this.
No.
Oh no, yeah, they do.
I do like the comment immediately below it. I don't know if it's the same one for you because I'm not sure how Reddit works, but this person in all caps says, "Now I'm afraid. Why is this important?"
Because it is important. So, it's a lot of theory talk in this episode so far.
Yeah.
There's a theory that if you saw yourself in public, like if you were cloned, not to your knowledge, and if you were cloned and you saw yourself in public, you would not recognize it as yourself.
Right. That was another thing that I had trouble with in this story. I'm like, because he literally says, let me find it real quick. This thing that looks and sounds exactly like me. Well, first off, like I don't think you would recognize yourself. Like it's sure when you look at a mirror, it's clear that it's you, or if you see your reflection in a window, but that's because you're expecting to see yourself. If you just randomly saw yourself, it probably wouldn't register. And also, most people don't know what they sound like either. Like, it's kind of distorted in your own head. So, like, whenever you hear yourself back on a recording, it sounds foreign. So I have a hard time believing that aspect of the story. And me personally, I have this this thing, I can't really describe it. I'm not even sure if it's a condition. I can't remember faces, like, at all. Like, I've known you for a really long time, and I couldn't...
We've spoken about this before.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, explain how you look to a sketch artist. And it's, like, literally everybody that I know, there's probably one feature of their entire body that I can, like, grasp onto when remembering the person, but their actual face, I couldn't. I even have a twin brother, and I can't remember what he looks like, so... I definitely wouldn't recognize myself if I just ran into myself randomly in the woods. But let's see. Why is it important if they're wearing clothes?
I think it's an important question because if I saw butt naked me in the street, then my neighbors are seeing butt naked me in the street. Whether it's me or not, I'm out there. And I don't know. I think that's way more concerning. Also, I think if something has malicious intent, it is more threatening if it's nude because it's so confident in what it's about to do.
Sure, yeah. I guess there is something far more unsettling about that, but I don't know. I feel like I would be a little more impressed if it was wearing clothes. Like, how did it do that?
I mean, I don't know the science obviously behind any of this, but like, I don't know. Magic. It's maybe its skin, like a cuttlefish, can like change its own texture and look more like cloth.
Oh man, there's like nobody's giving any context to this comment either. It's like the person who's like, "Why is this important?" Someone else just said, "Me too, but I'm invested now and need to know." Same. All it took was the title to suck me in. Blah blah blah. This one person just says that they encountered a doppelganger, which is a demon, and they need to pray now. There's literally no answer to the clothes thing. Is that the original poster? No, it's not. Someone just said completely nude.
Right.
Out of context.
I saw that one. That's why I thought he answered it, but that's not him.
Let's see. I'm just trying to see if I can find any more interesting comments.
Someone said, get some carbon monoxide monitors and set up some cameras.
Another person said, how do we know you're the real you?
Ooh, yeah.
This
the doppelganger learned how to use the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe he had Reddit up. He had this post up, ready to post. That was funny.
The doppelganger gets online and is like, haha, JK guys, I fooled you all. And by the way, he wasn't nude. By the way, I wasn't nude. I mean, he wasn't nude. The one I saw.
But yeah, no, I feel like it's. I mean, whether I believe this story or not, it does sound like a changeling, and it is properly unsettling, which is why I went ahead and picked this first. But do I have any suggestions or answers beyond that? No. Like I don't know what I would do. I mean, again, I have a twin brother. Who knows if that's actually a real person?
Whoa!
I don't talk to him all that often, so.
I think he's had to file way more paperwork than you throughout life, so.
Oh, maybe I'm the changeling.
Yeah, you're. Why is it that every episode, you're a cryptid somehow?
Well, it would make sense.
Okay, let's see. My first story, was posted on r/paranormal, 5 years ago. So.
Oh yeah, the one I just read was from 4 years ago, just to give some context.
Okay.
I had 306.
Well, that person's dead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had like 366 comments. I didn't see one from the original poster. So.
Immediately he pressed send or enter. Immediately dead.
Yeah.
This was posted by a user named Simic Spartan. That's all one word. The title of this one bothered me enough that I was like, I have to choose it. Normally I go for funny, but this one, I hate the way it is.
It was hard to find funny ones for this episode.
Yeah. So the title is Long-Legged Humanoid Running on All Fours. So on the night of November 1st of this year, this is 5 years ago, I was taking my dog out and look down the street from my house to see a strange-looking creature walking across the street. I saw it for a second or two, and I'll describe it the best I can. The first feature I noticed in my short glimpse were these two ridiculously long, bony, pitch-black legs, a back that sloped downwards, and these two short front legs and a head that poked out of the front. My first reaction in my head was, back inside, now. My dog saw the creature too, and immediately wanted back inside. This was the only experience I've had like this, and I'm hoping I'm not the only one who has seen a creature like this. Edit. It's important to note that the thing's back legs were as tall as a person. End of story.
You know what? I'm going to say, I don't know if I believe this one if the only other witness is a dog.
Is a dog.
Yeah. I mean, same with the last story, so. Well, no, I guess his mom.
No, yeah, his mom, for sure. I abhor the idea of, I put it in my little intro, of a person on all fours. It's not, don't do that. Unless you're like a contortionist or some crazy fanatic horse girl, don't get on all fours. You don't belong down there.
At least don't walk around like that. Goodness.
Yeah. And to say that the back legs were freakishly long, as tall as a person, and the two, you know what? No, now that I'm looking at this isn't humanoid at all.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a person. Unless each of its legs looked like a person.
Right.
Or even worse, were people. And so some freakish art project, some kind of creepy flash mob.
Art.
Yeah. Oh no.
And it said a head that poked out of the front.
Which end was the front?
Me. I assumed the way it was walking, the direction it was going.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say if it's walking backwards on all fours, the head being in the front would. That's pretty gross and creepy. The first comment on here is, you're definitely not the only one who's seen a creature like this. Such sightings are rare, but they surface every now and then. Not quite identical, but similar. Is there anything else you remember about the head? Was there a snout? What? Sorry, I wasn't expecting that. OP said no snout. It was more of a ball shape. I'm curious about the other sightings or whatever this thing was, because it's too long-legged for a human, too tall for a coyote, or a wolf, and it's too skinny for a bear. Well, yeah, I mean, what you described sounded like none of those things. So
It sounded like a katydid that is much, much, much too big.
yeah.
Someone made like an entire post reaction to this.
While you vet that one, someone else said it may have been a coyote or a raccoon.
What you saw was a raccoon, you idiot.
He said, I just recently saw a coyote in the dark walking to my hunting blind before sunup, and I literally almost shit myself. Yeah. It was very similar to what you described.
A hunting blind is like the box that you sit in waiting for deer to walk around.
That's what I figured. It just caught me off guard with the how it was grammatically set up there.
Hunting blind.
OP said, important to note that the thing's back legs were as tall as a person. So I'm sure it wasn't a raccoon. Why a raccoon? Raccoons and coyotes don't look anything alike. Why is this like a recurring...
Sometimes... I mean, we've been near those things before. We've seen them pretty closely.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like on the internet, because it's such a big place, people assume raccoons or coyotes more, I see it more often, are way bigger than they think they are.
Yeah.
Or they think they're way bigger than they are, rather.
Yeah. I mean, they're like the size of a medium-sized dog. Like, you could definitely confuse it for a dog, but they're definitely bigger than a raccoon. Or if you had a raccoon the size of a coyote, then that's a real problem.
That's an award-winning raccoon, and you better get to the state fair, win yourself a blue ribbon, and go have a nice root beer float.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one time I remember I was walking, not home. I was walking to work in the morning, and I was walking along the side of a highway, and maybe I was on my phone. I don't remember, but I look up, and there was just a coyote, like standing there, I guess. And first, I was taken aback for a second, and then I was like, "Oh, this is a taxidermied coyote. It's just been placed here. Like, what the hell?" And then as I got closer, I realized it wasn't taxidermied. It was just bloated after being hit by a car. But it was pristine, though. It looked like it was alive and snarling at me. And I was like, "Geez,
that's terrifying."
But I didn't confuse it for whatever the hell this thing was.
So I read through this post. The ending's pretty good.
Okay.
The beginning of it kind of just establishes like it's October in 2012. I was walking down this one road. I'm going to start here. True, it was late, but it was rather mild for October, so it wasn't out of the question that someone might have been walking along the road. What was odd is that he is in quotes, was quite tall, 6'6" or taller, and really, really thin. In the few seconds I was looking at him, I noticed that he seemed to be dressed in all black, with black pants, a tight black trench coat, very, very dark skin, and short, dark hair. He was either limping or having trouble walking. As I debated slowing down, maybe someone had had an accident, he dropped down on all fours and quickly scampered across the road in front of me. He has a face that was, as I said, coal black, with a cross between human and canine features, and then he was gone.
Gone where?
Yikes! If you're gonna be on all fours, don't be in a suit.
Yeah, why are all these creatures so well dressed?
You better be in a leotard, is what I'm saying. You better look like you're in Cirque du Soleil.
Oh man, you've never seen The Amazing World of Gumball, have you?
No.
Man, that show is also great. You should add it to your roster. But they have a school counselor who is like a cloud, but he's a hippie, and so he's like really puffy looking, and he normally wears like loose hippie clothes, and he just looks really puffy. But occasionally he'll wear like a leotard to go rollerblading, and he is bone thin. Like you can see his skeletal features through the leotard, and that's what I imagine most of these things probably look like. But man, it's so unsettling that this thing just crossed the road to his side, right? Like right there, you'd probably already be shitting yourself. But then it just goes away. Like, why is it that these things always like want to intimidate you and then just run off? But like never.
There are a bunch of stories, especially with the paranormal, and like we can make a drinking game out of this, but anytime something just disappears, right? Or just stops being in there, like in that place, in that moment.
Yeah.
Things do just seem to go away.
It's very convenient for the storyteller that nothing happens. So.
I guess so. Yeah, anything creepy that walks away from like a person who's clearly traumatized by that, they're like rubbing their their elongated fingers together, and they're like, ha ha ha, this is going to make a great Reddit post.
Wait, so I want to mention real quick, the story that you just read from that comment, the very next paragraph starts with, when I got home, I hadn't really thought much about it. But over the next day or two, it really started to give me the creeps. I'm sorry, someone drops all four, scatters over to you, and then just disappears, and you don't think much of that? Like, what the fuck?
And you're like, I wonder if there's a Cheers rerun tonight. What are you talking about? You didn't think about it.
Oh, man.
I was too busy thinking about the cloud therapist from Gumball or whatever.
Oh, man, yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, going through these stories, I'm like, people are weird. Like, if this happened to me, it would have scarred me for life, Like
right,
the Goodyear
it would be
blimp.
all you talk about.
Exactly.
Like the Goodyear blimp, exactly.
All right. So let's move on to my next one, because I think these are, like I said, some of them are a lot longer than others, and I have two more. I'm debating if I want to go over one or just go into the other. But Roger, under our little media channel here, you sent me a post with a picture of a farmer fighting a floating human-shaped cricket, right?
Yeah.
So that's your story. I'll let you tell that one if that's what you want to dive into. So,
it's not a story. It's just okay. So this is a segment I want to call. What am I looking at? And I need you. I need you to describe to the audience what you're looking at.
Okay. Oh man. Yeah, we'll just add this now because I also have one that I also sent in there.
Okay.
And both of these are from the Humanoid Encounters page. So let me click on the actual link because there's two pictures on yours.
The second picture is not very important.
Yeah. Well, I'll start with the second picture just to give an idea of.
Okay.
So this second picture is a human-shaped thing. It's charcoal black, like the other post would have described, with what looks like dreadlocks and snow goggles. It's fairly fit shape, and it. From like the dimensions on this drawing, I would say it's maybe like 5'7", probably not like super tall, but not super short.
Right.
So this first image is a farmscape. There's a little farm in the distance, some green grass. On the far left of the frame, and we'll have links to these images. You guys can
you'll
can
see
look
them.
at it, but. For our audio medium, let me paint the picture. On the far left, there's a gray orb floating just a few feet off the ground. Immediately to the right is a woman. I'm assuming the farmer's wife, and she is. Their backs are to us, but she is kind of. I don't really know how to describe this motion she's making. She's reaching out as if kind of like in a defensive position.
She looks like she's hailing a taxi.
Yeah, but I'm assuming she's meant to be like shielding herself from the humanoid that I had described, who is also floating a few feet in the air. His eyes are red in this image, but he's still charcoal black, and he is shooting a ray beam out of his eyes at the dapper little farmer in his vest and and like fedora hat, and he's wielding a pitchfork to fight this thing off. And then next to him is his trusty dog going nuts and barking at this thing.
There's a couple things about this picture that threw me off. I was at work when I first saw this, and I couldn't stop laughing about it. The gray orb you described.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah. And no, like...
Because it's kind of set in the middle ground.
No, like, windows or doors or anything. It's just a solid... It looks like a marble floating...
Right.
Like a huge marble floating over the grass there. Man.
The laser beam. What kind of effect is it having on the farmer?
None, like, as far as I can tell.
It kind of looks like they painted this picture, like they drew it all, and the floating alien was an afterthought, or this guy, because the laser that is, I mean, it's clearly like hitting the farmer or something in front of him.
Yeah, because
but the farmer...
it has like an effect of it like bouncing off of something.
Right, like it's clearly impacting something.
Yeah.
But the farmer is standing firm.
Mm-hmm.
And then his freakazoid of a dog on his hind legs, that looks more like a cryptid than anything else.
Yeah. Like a Wendigo about to change.
Wendigo, yes.
Yeah. No, so I saw this image and I clicked on it, and there is a story with it.
Yes, there's a full story in the comments.
Apparently, the scene that we're looking at happened in Italy, Florence, in 1989. Two elderly farmers from the Florentine countryside one morning reported seeing a dark sphere descended slightly over their field like a breath. Huh. From the sphere came a being dressed in a black-colored jumpsuit. Okay. The being had long, dark hair and huge red eyes, which frightened the farmers and their dog. He also seemed to be wearing some helmet. Oh, that's a helmet. Okay. Or perhaps the large eyes were some visor. The incident was repeated 4 other times, always in the same field. I'm sorry. This happened 4 separate times. The farmer,
that's why he's immune to these laser blasts.
Yeah. The farmer nicknamed the being as the fish man because the individual did not walk but floated in the air,
like
in the
fish.
area, moving like a fish in water. Although astonished, they did not speak about their experiences, only to a few trusted people. One day, one of the farmers got very angry because this time the black sphere had landed on the field, crushing the ears of wheat, totally ruining them. Armed with a pitchfork, the farmer approached the sphere and the flying creature in a threatening manner. The man, however, was unable to get too close because the flying being fired a beam of light from his eyes at the poor farmer, paralyzing him completely. Oh, so he's like frozen in the thing.
He's not standing his ground. This is an accident.
At the same time, the farmer's terrified wife screamed, "Come back, otherwise this will kill us. Let's run away." Wow.
Translated from Italian, I'm sure.
Just giving her whole plan out in the open like that. Luckily for them, the being actually re-entered his craft, which this time left making a loud noise. At first, the farmers thought that the being was having problems with his craft and actually approached to help. However, the being shouted at them, it talked. "Don't come nearer, because it will burn you." That's the whole story. Okay.
That's where it ends.
Well, that leaves so many more questions.
So
it wasn't attacking him, it was preventing him from being harmed by his very hot ship, I guess.
I do enjoy that this happened a couple times, but the farmer sees that the ship kind of affects his crop yield, and is like, "Not on my watch."
I like that it happened 3 times before this, and he was just like, "That's weird," and just nothing. Like, didn't report it to anyone. Told a couple of friends. Imagine they're like having milk or something, and he's just like, "Yeah, the other day I saw an orb out in the field. You guys ever get orbs?"
Pretty crazy. Is it orb season? This always happens.
There's also this guy that just floats.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
This whole image.
Well, why don't you look at the image that I sent in the group?
Okay. Let me see.
Directly under that. Just go ahead and click on the link so you can get a full view of it.
Okay. What? What the fuck am I looking at?
Just read the title.
The title. Ooh. Okay. So I'll try to explain this to the best of my ability. What I have in front of me looks to be an illustration, pencil on paper, I would assume. It depicts a traveler, maybe someone who's about to go on a picnic as they are holding a basket. Could be full of food, could be full of rocks. I don't know. They're wearing a kind of a hooded jacket, maybe, that the hood is down. They are wearing a hat. They are looking at. They are being confronted. They're being accosted, I assume, by what I thought was like a weird plume of smoke.
Yeah.
They're in kind of a forested area. I think it's wintertime because the trees do not have leaves on them. But directly in front of the character who's looking away from us, kind of 3/4 away from us, there is a pillar of hair, and at the top of that pillar is a hippie's head. Is just a not well shaved man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the image itself is confusing and funny, but the title of this really got me. Bizarre encounter with a, quote, Neanderthal on a stick in Belarus, 2012.
Yep. So the story is in the comments. It's a pretty fast read. I guess since I read yours, if you want to give that a quick read.
Sure. Let's see. The encounter occurred in 2012. The eyewitness, Alexander O., did not tell anyone except close relatives and friends about it. We were first informed about it by his daughter, and then by the witness himself after gaining his trust. Below is his verbatim account and description of the creature.
Just a note.
Yeah.
So I think the original source was in Russian, and this encounter happened in Belarus. So English is not their first language. It's going to be like a little weird when you read it.
Sure. Quote, I used to go there to gather mushrooms. Oh, it's on a picnic. He was gathering mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
It was 4 years ago, during the first days of August. And so I drove up to this place, left the car. My wife went to the side of the lake. I looked around. Not too many mushrooms around. I started calling my wife, Lena, let's go. But she went further away, and so I couldn't hear her anymore. So I began collecting a few mushrooms here and there. I picked them up and call out for my wife again. And this is what happened next, believe it or not. I look up and see something like burnt wood. It was thin and black, very black. Figured it was just a burning tree, so I didn't pay it attention at first, and kept walking. The tree was still standing. I guess, is that still standing or still standing? I went over and I thought...
what he said was he figured that it was a tree that had been burned. So that it was still up instead of like fallen.
Still upright. The tree was still standing. I went over and I thought, well, I'll take a look. I felt this attraction and urge to see this thing. Likewise, I raised my eyes, and there's a head 3 times the size of mine. It looks like a monkey's, low forehead, big eyes. It looks at me, but it's literally 4 meters away. 3 or 4 meters away. So this keeps looking at me, and it's a kind face, with a pleasant expression, not mean at all. I wasn't scared at all. It was overgrown with hair and black skin too, lips and nose like a human's. But I couldn't see the torso. I didn't see any arms or legs. I focused and wanted to talk to it, since it looked intelligent, and I said, wow, just like that. as, as soon as I said, wow, it disappeared instantly. It did not hide behind the other tree. It just simply disappeared into thin air before my eyes. Take a drink.
Yep.
After a while, my wife came back. Afterward, I had a streak of bad luck. I got a flat tire in my car afterward. I wasn't afraid after the sighting. Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah.
The whole thing was 3 meters high, maybe even more, but the torso was very thin. It was all hairy. I don't know. Maybe he was standing sideways? But the main thing is that I didn't see any arms or legs.
Yeah.
And that's the end of that quote.
I said, wow. Just like that. Yeah.
Just like that. That's so funny.
So in the comments, a lot of the theories are like a portal. Like this thing, person, whatever, saw a portal, stuck their head through it, saw the guy, disappeared. It's quite a few comments like that. My favorite comment, though, is simply directed by David Lynch. Yeah, so, yeah, just a lot of stuff like coming through a porthole, partly materialized. Someone else said maybe they phased into our dimension.
Are you sure it wasn't Steven Seagal? Come on, guys.
Anyways, this image was just very funny. And it's funny because, like, I saw the image you sent, and I read the little story, and I was like, let me see if I can find something interesting like this. And literally the first thing that popped up when I pulled up the Humanoid Encounter subreddit was this post, because it was from a day ago.
Oh, it was?
Yeah. And no, the image is just hilarious. It's like, it's almost like an oversized Jesus head on a hairy stick.
Right.
Just kind of
the illustration certainly doesn't give Neanderthal. It does kind of just look like Nathan Yaffe, if anyone knows who that is. It just looks like a guy.
Yeah, they could have definitely done a better job of making it look more Neanderthal. But then again, the guy who told the story didn't make it sound like it was a caveman or anything. It's just an oversized head. Then again, the way his quote is structured is like not very good. He doesn't seem like a very good storyteller.
Yeah. I mean, he's certainly not a journalist, but like, it was exciting. It was an exciting time. I do. He
really had to get his mushrooms.
This mushroom basket.
Maybe he ate one of them.
See, some of the comments were like, oh, "I wonder what kind of mushrooms you were hunting for."
Yeah. Oh, what were you gonna say about the image?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay.
I was gonna say that the illustration, the guy who has his back to us, the protagonist, I guess, he doesn't look scared.
No, he just looks surprised.
Like maybe a car pulled out in front of him and he wasn't expecting it. Just I
also don't get the vibe, because he was like, it had a pleasant expression on its face. I don't get that vibe from the illustration either. It just
no. I would say the illustration also shows the Neanderthal on a stick as one not looking anywhere near the guy.
Yeah,
he's kind of just looking off into the distance, and he also kind of looks confused as shit. Like, what am I doing here?
Would give credence to the portal or like porthole theory. He's just kind of like, what the fuck?
Do you think the Neanderthal was also looking for mushrooms?
Yeah, he's like, hey, I wonder if there's any on through this tear in the space-time continuum.
And what we didn't know is that Alexander O totally ruined the timeline, and we're doomed. So
it's the Neanderthal on a stick effect. So I did have movie. I did have another story.
Okay.
Let me. This one's short, so I'll go ahead and read it. It's a little unsettling, but also funny at the same time.
I'll take it.
So let's see. the title kind of just... Okay, I'll just dive into it. This one is from the Humanoid Encounters subreddit from a since deleted user, and it's from about 4 years ago. When I was 5, I had my first sleepover. We both saw the same thing, and to this day, 25 years later, we remember. They tag this with just self. I don't know what that means. I'm wondering if any other people have seen or heard something similar and can help me find some literature on this description. 3 weeks after my grandfather passed, I had my first sleepover. My friend and I went to sneak into the kitchen for a midnight snack. When we turned the corner, a black silhouette of a figure as tall as the ceiling was walking across the living room towards my parents' room. It was very, very muscular. A body like Arnold Schwarzenegger's in his prime. No hair, no clothes. I can only tell this by the definition at the edge of the silhouette. We froze. It turned, looked at us, and began to walk towards us. It had one massive eye like a cyclops. This sounds insane, I know, but I was freaking 5. The two of us turned and slammed the door behind us and hid under the covers of my bed, absolutely freaking out and sobbing. My whole life I threw that in the vault. But today, sharing ghost stories with friends, I finally talked about it in detail. They're floored and mind blown, and I'm interested to hopefully find out more about the experience. So, immediately, the title kind of doesn't fit with the rest of the story. She said we both saw the same thing, and to this day, 25 years later, we remember. So I was hoping she would have some kind of like confirmation from this friend. But it just kind of ends with like, I told my other friends and they're, had their minds blown. Can you imagine seeing something the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger in your house?
Never. Not even now.
And then walking
as a 31-year-old
towards you?
man, never. I would pass out, I think. Especially under the description of a black silhouette, no clothes, no hair, one eye. It could literally be a naked Arnold Schwarzenegger. Similar situation. I would be passing out.
Right. This, it has 110 comments. I didn't look through the comments because I just thought the fact that they described it as the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger was funny and creepy at the same time.
Yeah.
Let's see. First comment just says, "This is so freaky. Younger people are more susceptible to witnessing paranormal events, and the fact that you both saw it is disturbing." Yeah, but again, we didn't get confirmation from the friend. Let's see, the OP actually responded to that. They said, yeah, children are still so open to experiences, and we corroborated our story into adulthood, which is at least very validating for us. But still no clue what we saw besides demon cyclops or whatever. Okay, well, can you get your friend to comment on the post? Because...
Does your friend have a Reddit?
Yeah. Hold on, that's part of the same comment. Ever consider that whatever it was knew that it could instantly terrify a kid, and that's why it didn't pursue you after scaring you two off? Oh, so it's just from the Monsters universe, Monsters Inc.
Right. All it needed were your screams.
Yeah. Just need
even though laughs are more efficient.
Well, now that we're laughing about the Schwarzenegger-ness of it.
Oh, it's come full circle. It's using the children's screams and our laughter.
So this person commented, I'm not sure what it is. Almost sounds more like a yokai than a typical Western creature. I don't know what that is. Let me look that up real quick.
A yokai, it just, I guess technically it means demon, but it's just like monster, right? Like
oh yeah, it's kind of a muscular. Well, I don't know if I'd describe those as muscles, but it a lumpy demon looking thing. Yeah.
I hate lumpy demons.
Let me look up.
That's what muscles are. Let's talk about it. Muscles are just lumps.
Yeah.
Like when you see people in a gym and they're like, their goal is bodybuilding, they just want to get more lumpy.
Yeah, man, you gotta get part of that lump culture.
Hashtag lump culture.
I guess this wouldn't quite explain the single eye. Let's see. Sounds like the muscular Cyclops in Jason and the Argonauts.
The movie?
Yeah, I guess so. Hold on, I'm not...
Okay.
Cyclops. Oh, wow. That's actually one of the... Yeah, I guess so. If you think of a classic Cyclops, that's what they're referring to. But yeah, no, I don't know what I would do if I saw something the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger with one eye in my house. Well, especially if it started like coming at me, like holy hell, no, thank you.
There's another. It disappeared again, right? They closed the door, and the monster was like, "I can't get through doors."
Yeah, it didn't sound like they locked it either. So he's just kind of like, "Oh, well, they're gone. Let me just do whatever else." Also, like, was it making a sound like where its footsteps kind of?
Ooh, silence is kind of creepy though.
Yeah, especially something that big. So many questions. Most of these humanoid stories just leave you with more questions than anything else. At least the ghost stuff, you can be like, "Oh, maybe that was a ghost." But this is like, what the fuck is it? Like, I don't think I've ever heard any other Cyclops stories either. So, but yeah, I think that's all I got for that one. Did you have any more stories that you wanted to share?
No, but I do want to go into our segment, which is, I don't know what to call it. Ask X. In the general chat, I'm going to be sending. I went to Ask Reddit.
Yeah.
And I searched specifically humanoid, and I pulled these 3 questions that I'm going to be getting your answers on. So you haven't seen these yet. These are raw. So go ahead, read that first question and answer earnestly.
Okay. From the user questioning homos. All right. If you had a humanoid robot, what would you put him to do? Okay.
Yeah, answer the question.
I don't know, man. I'm not into slave labor, so if I had a humanoid robot, I would just make him watch movies with me, chill. You know, I don't have a whole lot of friends.
Yes, I'd have someone to finally play Valheim with.
Yeah.
Next question.
All right, from user Arnavu. What are reptilian humanoids, and are they really exist? Zuck Muckerberg. Yeah. Next question.
We answered it at the top of the podcast. Pay attention, people. Next question.
What if furries were real? Not in costumes, but in real life, humanoid animals. Thanks, Shahir Tashfeen, for asking this question. I don't know. Fuck them?
Yeah. Holy shit.
Even better, this question has exactly 69 comments.
69 comments, I know. I was so excited about that. All right, everybody. That is going to have to do it for this humanoid-themed episode. If you have any supernatural stories of your own, you could submit them to us for this show on any of our socials at PairO'Dudes. That is PAIR_O_DUDES.
Yeah, so we've been a Paranormal Dudes, ever in need of stories to intrigue, perplex, and maybe even frighten us. So remember, if you can't explain it, post about it. And until next time, stay tuned and stay haunted.